Testing. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الحي القيوم الملك القدوس المجيد الحميد العلي القهار رب العالمين. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد المختار المصطفى وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبع هداه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. This 14th, I believe, reading broadcast from the book البهيئة في شرح العقيدة الواسطية. And we've covered several topics by Allah's mercy and rahmah and permission. We've covered the Aqidah in general, which was sort of an introduction. We talked about, likewise, so we mentioned about some of the statements of the scholars from the past, the A'immatul Arba'ah and others. And we talked about, Barakallahu Feekum, we talked about the manhaj of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah toward and understanding the names and attributes. We talked about several different principles on this subject, Barakallahu Feekum. We talked about several different subjects. And here we reached where Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, where he said, من غير تحريف ولا تعطيل ومن غير تكييف ولا تمثيل. Right. The beginning of that is where Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, ومن الإيمان بالله, and part of the belief in Allah. And نؤمن بما وصف أو الإيمان بما وصف الله به نفسه في كتابه وبما وصفه به رسوله. Part of the belief in Allah is to believe in what Allah Ta'ala, believe in those names and attributes that Allah Ta'ala used to describe himself, and to believe likewise in the names and that's in the Quran, and likewise to believe in the names and attributes that the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam described Allah Ta'ala with in the Sunnah. And we talked about the concept of at-tahrif. We talked about the concept of at-tahrif. طيب. Um, we talked about at-tahrif. We talked about tahrif. And the Sheikh mentioned about at-tahrif. Barakallahu fikum. He mentioned the meaning of tahrif in the language. The meaning of tahrif in the Arabic language. And then he went on to mention the different types of tahrif. And he said tahrif is two categories. The tahrif of the word and the tahrif of the meaning. And the tahrif of the word is by adding to the word or subtracting from the word, deleting from the word, or by changing the tashkilat, the vowel sounds at the end of the words, because in Arabic the ending sounds have the ending sounds affect the meaning of the sentence. For the brothers who studied Nahu, the ending sounds of the word have an effect on the meaning of the word in the sentence, the place of the word in the sentence, whether it is the subject or the object, or so on and so forth. And the Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he mentioned some examples. And he mentioned some examples from the Nasara, or the Jews, where Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran, فَبَدَّلَ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا قَوْلًا غَيْرَ الَّذِي قِيلَ لَهُمْ. Right? Surah Al-Baqarah, those that were oppressive, those that oppressed, they changed the statement, right, and said something that wasn't said to them. قِيلَ لَهُمْ, it was said to them, قُولُوا حِطَّةٌ. They were supposed to say حِطَّةٌ, and they said حَبَّةٌ. So حِطَّة, حَبَّة. They were supposed to say حِطَّة, they said حَبَّة. They changed the wording, right? They added to it, or they changed it. And then another narration, they said حِنْطَةٌ, from حِطَّةٌ to حِنْطَةٌ. So there they changed the word altogether. And this one, they added a letter. They added this N sound, which is a noon. They added the noon, which makes a sound like an N. And instead of saying hitta, they said hinta. Right? And this is a type of tahrif. The Sheikh, he went on, he said, likewise the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah and the Al-Asha'irah. And there's no doubt there's a difference in these groups. There's a difference in these groups. But the commonality, or the what's common among them, is that they're all mu'attila. They all deny on some level or another. Some deny all attributes, and some deny specific attributes. Some deny attributes outright, and some deny them so that they can change them. But they're all one group of mu'attila. طيب. The Sheikh, he says the Mu'tazila and the Al-Jahmiyyah and the Al-Asha'irah and those like them, when they come to the verse, when they come to the verse where Allah Ta'ala says, ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى عَلَى الْعَرْشِ, or Ar-Rahmanu عَلَى الْعَرْشِ اسْتَوَى, Allah Ta'ala rose above his throne in a manner that is unique to him, unique to Allah Ta'ala, unique to his majesty. They say istawla. Instead of istawa, they say istawla. They add a lam, which makes the L sound. Istawla. Instead of saying istawa, they say istawla. طيب. فهذا تحريف في اللفظ بزيادة حرف. This is تحريف by adding a letter. Right? They added this lam, فزادوا اللام فغيروا المعنى. They added the lam, which makes it sound like a L, and it changes the meaning. ومعنى استوى المعروف في اللغة على وارتفع. And the meaning of استوى is well known in the language. It means to rise, to ascend. The Sheikh mentioned another example of an individual that came to one of the scholars from the past, and he asked about the verse where Allah Ta'ala says, Kallama Allahu Musa takliman. So this person, he said to this scholar from the past, Ya Abu Amr. The scholar's name was Abu Amr. He was a reciter of Quran, person of Sunnah. He said, Ya Abu Amr. What about if I read the verse instead of saying Yani Kallam Allahu, he says Kallam Allah. Kallam Allah. The difference is Kallam Allahu, Allah Ta'ala is the speaker. Allah Ta'ala spoke to Musa. Kallam Allahu Musa takliman. Allah Ta'ala spoke to Musa. Allah Ta'ala spoke to Musa in reality. Allah Ta'ala spoke to him. They said, the person said, what if I say Kallam Allah Musa takliman? In this statement, the first statement, Allah Ta'ala is a speaker and Musa is being spoken to. When you say Kallam Allah Musa, Musa is the speaker and Allah Ta'ala is being spoken to. And they do this because they try to deny the speech of Allah Ta'ala. So this was the person's question. He replied to him, he said, let's say just for the purpose of discussion, I agree. He didn't agree, but he just said, let's say we read it like that. He didn't like this. He said, okay, if you read that like that, okay, what about where Allah Ta'ala says, وَكَلَّمَهُ رَبُّهُ كَلَّمَهُ رَبُّهُ. Here you can't change. You can't change the harakat and play games and stuff, right? كَلَّمَهُ رَبُّهُ, because the ha here is the object, and you can't say it's anything else other than an object because it's connected to the verb. It's connected directly to the verb, right? It's like saying Allah Ta'ala, right? You can't say the word him in English, the word him is a pronoun that has to be the object, him, right? So like this pronoun, the has to be the object. So you can't come and play these games. The Sheikh also mentioned that in the verse Kallam Allahu Musa, when he changed the lafz al-jalala, he said he also changed Musa. So Musa was the object, and Musa is the one being spoken to in the verse. But the person wanted to make Musa the speaker. And that's an example of changing a word without changing, the Sheikh, he says, without changing the vowel endings. The Sheikh, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he continues, he says, النوع الثاني تحريف من جهة المعنى. They change the characteristic, the attribute of Allah Ta'ala by changing the meaning, right? By changing the meaning. So there we were talking about changing the word, because the Sheikh mentioned two categories, changing the word and changing the meaning. Here the Sheikh is talking about changing the meaning. Once again, Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, they don't deny, they don't change the meanings, they don't say Allah Ta'ala's characteristic is like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all of it. They don't say it's like this and that. No, they affirm the meaning. They affirm the meaning without changing. The Sheikh, he says this, changing the meaning He says, وَهَذَا كَثِيرٌ. This is something that occurs often. كادعاء المجاز, like some people saying that the speech of Allah Ta'ala in the Quran and the revelation in the Sunnah, they say it's majaz. They say it is what? It's majaz. كتعويل النصوص على ما دلت عليه لغة العرب. فمثلا the Sheikh, he says, by changing the texts, and using the Arabic language, right, to play games. He says, for example, where Allah Ta'ala says, فَمَثَلًا قَوْلُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى قَوْلُ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ, the statement of Allah, الرحمن الرحيم, in Surah Al-Fatiha. الحمد لله رب العالمين, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, الحمد لله رب العالمين, الرحمن الرحيم, الرحمن الرحيم. They say, يقولون الرحمة, عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته, يقولون الرحمة هي إرادة الإحسان. They say الرحمة because one Allah Ta'ala's names, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, show us that Allah Ta'ala has the characteristic, the attribute of Ar-Rahmah. They say Ar-Rahmah means Iradatul Ihsan, to want good, to want kindness for somebody. The Sheikh, he says, هذا تحريف وتغيير للرحمة عن معناها. The Sheikh, he says, this is changing and altering the meaning of Ar-Rahmah from its meaning. بأي شيء? The Sheikh, he said, يعني how? He says, من أصول أهل الضلال في الصفات. He says, sorry, بأي شيء? الجواب بالأخذ بالمجاز, by affirming what's called al-majaz, which means that the language is metaphoric and so on and so forth. بالأخذ بالمجاز والأخذ بالمجاز في النصوص الصفات باطل. And saying that that Allah Ta'ala's attributes are metaphoric is falsehood. ومن أصول أهل السنة وأهل الضلال في الصفات. And this is the basis, this is the foundation of the people of falsehood in Allah Ta'ala's, when they discuss Allah Ta'ala's attributes. أما في غير الصفات, the Sheikh, he says, in issues other than Allah Ta'ala's attributes, يعني في اللغة من غير دخوله في الصفات. The Sheikh, he says, meaning in the Arabic language, excluding the attributes, excluding Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes, فهو خلاف أدبي. The Sheikh, he said, this is a sort of literary differing. This is something that the people of literature differ about. مع أن الصحيح عند المحققين أنه لا مجاز أصلا. He says, keeping in mind that what is the correct position, or according to those scholars who are yani the most knowledgeable scholars, that there's no such thing as al-majaz. There's no such thing as al-majaz. He says, وهنا يدخل في المحرفة الذين حرفوا الكلام عن موضعه. He says, included in the people who changed the meanings, who tried to change the meanings, are those that change the speech from its place. They change the meanings from the original meanings. They tried to change the original meanings of the Arabic language and so on and so forth. He says, Al-Jahmiyatu awwalu ma yadkhul. The Jahmiyyah, they are included in the Muharrifun first and foremost. They're the first class. They're the first people that are considered Muharrifun. He says, because the Jahmiyyah, the asl of their changing the meanings, إنما جاء من جهة الجعد بن درهم. Because the Jahmiyyah, the reason that they change the meanings, the reason that they do tahrif and Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes, is because of this one name, Ja'adu, al-Ja'du ibn Dirham. Ja'ad ibn Dirham is the founder, He's the founder of the method, the way of a ta'til. He's the first one to deny, the first one in history, since from the time of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was the first one to deny an attribute. He said Allah Ta'ala did not go back upstairs, baby girl. Go back upstairs. Go back upstairs, baby girl. He said Allah Ta'ala Ja'ad ibn Dirham, he falsely stated that Allah Ta'ala did not speak to Musa and that Allah Ta'ala did not make Ibrahim his Khalil. He denied this, both of these. طيب. So the Sheikh, he says, rather the Jews, in fact, did not or change some of the meanings as we just mentioned. لأن هذا المقالة أخذها الجعد عن اليهود, because this statement, this tahrif, this statement, Ja'd took it from the Jews. لأنهم هم الذين يحرفون الكلمة عن مواضعه, because they are the ones that changed the speech from its original place, its original meaning. وكان أول ما بدأ تحريف حيث نفى اتصاف الله بالكلام وقال إن قوله كلم الله موسى تكليما أي جرحه بأظافره. And the first changing of meaning as connected to Allah Ta'ala's speech, Allah Ta'ala's characteristic of speech, his attribute of speech, they said the statement of Allah Ta'ala, كلم الله موسى تكليما, Allah Ta'ala spoke to Musa. They say it means Allah Ta'ala cut him with the fingernails of wisdom. That's what they said. Right? They took the word kallama and they changed the word kallama and connected it to a word like taklim al-adhafir, and they cutting the nails and like this, and they changed the meaning from speech to something totally different. The Sheikh, he says فليس من جهة الكلام وإنما من جهة التجريح, right? وكلم أي جرح من الكلم وهو الجرح, right? They said this is not about speech, it's about cutting, right? وكلم mean جرح. They said the word كلم mean جرح. They changed the meaning, right? I'm gonna just read what the Sheikh said, and if you understand Arabic, you can get it. He says فليس من جهة الكلام إنما وإنما من جهة التجريح وكلم أي جرح من الكلم وهو الجرح. Right? The word kalam, al-kalmu, means al-jurh, to cut. Al-kalm means al-jurh. So they said al-kalm, kallama, meaning jarraha. ثم أخذها عن جهل. Right? So they changed so the point is that they changed the meaning. Kallama has a well-known meaning. Kallama, Allah Ta'ala spoke to him. Allah Ta'ala spoke to him. Allah Ta'ala spoke to him. ثم أخذ عنه Jahm ibn Safwan. And then Jahm ibn Safwan, he took this statement from Ja'ad ibn Dirham, and Jahm Safwan is the Imam. He's the leader of Al-Jahmiyyah. He's the leader of Al-Jahmiyyah. طيب. He says, وهذا أول ما بدأ به الجهمية فنفوا صفة الكلام. This was the beginning of the Jahmiyyah, and فهذا أول ما بدأ به الجهمية. And they denied Allah Ta'ala's attribute of speech. They denied Allah Ta'ala's attribute of speech. They denied Allah Ta'ala's attribute of speech. Um, وتسلسل هذا, and they one thing after another thing, they begin to deny one thing after another. He says, وَالْجَهْمِيَّةُ يُحَرِّفُونَ مِنْ جِهَاتٍ. The Jahmiyyah, they change the meanings from several different aspects. He says, تحريفهم الأسماء الحسنى وصفات العلى. They change the meanings of Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes. فهم يقولون بها في القرآن لكن يجعلون تفسيرها بمخلوقات منفصلة. They, in the Quran, they mention, they affirm them, or when these names come in the Quran, they say this is a separate creature. The Sheikh, he says, the characteristic of the according to the Jahmiyyah, the only characteristic of Allah Ta'ala is al-wujud, existence, al-mutlaq, faqat, that Allah Ta'ala exists. They say that Allah Ta'ala exists, and that's it. He says, وَغَيْرُهُ مِنَ الْأَسْمَاءِ الْحُسْنَى, and other names for Allah Ta'ala and attributes, السميع والبصير والحي والقيوم القيوم العليم الحكيم, يفسرونها الجهمية بمخلوقات منفصلة. They say that these names are separate creatures, separate created things. فيقولون, they say, السميع هو من يسمع. The سميع is those things that are heard. والبصير هو من يبصر. And the al-basir is the one who sees. والمتكلم هو من يكلم. And the speaker or speech, right, is the one that is spoken to. يعني مخلوقات الله المنفصلة. And the Shaykh, he says, meaning that they say that these characteristics are not, they're not characteristics of Allah. When Allah Ta'ala mentions the Sami', he's talking about the one that is heard, al-Basir, the one that is seen, and so on and so forth. He says, وَالْعَزِيزُ هُوَ مَنْ أُعَزَّ أو مَنْ عَزَّ. Right? Al-Aziz, the one who is honored, or the one who, right, عَزَّ. وَالْقَيُّومُ هُوَ مَنْ أُقِيمَ أو مَنْ قَامَ بِأُمُورٍ. The Al-Qayyum is the one who is sustained or established, and أو مَنْ قَامَ بِأُمُورِهِ, or the one who establishes his own issues. The Shaykh, he says, وهذه الأسماء تتعلقت بالخلق من آثار وصفات الوجود لله. وهذا الأسماء تعلقت بالخلق من آثار صفة الوجود لله. He said these names are connected to the creation from the effects of Allah Ta'ala's existence. فعندهم الوجود عام. Allah Ta'ala's existence is general. He says, ويدخل فيه المعتزلة. Also included in the muharrifun, those that change the meanings, are the mu'tazila. If that's what I just read to you was confusing, it's because it makes no sense. Aslan, it's part of the khuza'balat, the foolishness of the Jahmiyyah, the astray mental twister that they play. Also in the muharrifa, included in the people who change the meanings, are the mu'tazila. He says, فإن المعتزلة حرفوا الغيبيات جميعا في الأسماء في الصفات والأسماء. The Mu'tazila, they changed all of the unseen things, right? The Allah Ta'ala's characteristics, His attributes, His names, and those things, the other things that are unseen, like the punishment of the grave. and the scale, and the hawd, which is the Prophet ﷺ pond, right, or his lake, was sirat, the bridge over the hellfire, and other things of the unseen. They changed all of them, and other things, other issues of the unseen. They changed them from their actual meanings. ويدخل فيه أيضا الأشاعرة. Also included in these people that change things are al-asha'ira, right? Like one individual mentioned, in the Atlantic City area, may Allah guide him. He's there leading people astray. In his lecture about the Aqidah, he mentioned the principles. And if you listen to, you shouldn't listen to him, but if you listen to him, you might get sucked in. And then he reels you in, and he reels you in, and he reels you in until it came to application. He reels you in with principles. You're like, yo, this sounds like the principles of Ahl Sunnah. These sound like the principles of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And he reels you in, and he reels you in, and he's mentioning some falsehood, but it's not too much, right? Because, you getting comfortable. He's making you comfortable. And the first attribute he comes to of Allah Ta'ala is Allah Ta'ala's face. Fitna. It's a fitna for him. He couldn't handle. He couldn't hide it any longer. He comes to the attribute of Allah Ta'ala's face, and he starts playing mind games. And he says, we affirm the face, but we say it has a different meaning. We say the word face has a different meaning. And then he starts to play games. Arabic language, you don't know, and you didn't know the Arabic language, and you need to know in the Arabic language. He's playing mind games, right? And then he says the face means the that. The face means the that. Yeah, also in the lafz, that is not even mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah. Yalla, let's not even deal with that issue, right? It's not even mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah. The scholars mention the term that, the that of Allah. Yalla, yani that meaning nafs. The term nafs, Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran about Allah Ta'ala. تعلم ما في نفسي ولا أعلم ما في نفسك. Isa says, yani Allah Ta'ala knows what is in his nafs, and he doesn't know what is in Allah Ta'ala's nafs. And yani, they say the nafs meaning that, yani, no problem, inshallah. But the point is that when he came to the attribute of Allah Ta'ala's face, he started doing spins, twisters, jumping jacks, push-ups, break dancing, spinning around, everything, all kind of stuff. And he came with some falsehood. He mentioned some statements of some well-known scholars. And he said the face of Allah Ta'ala means that. The face means of that. He mentioned some statements here and there to scholars, and he left other statements of those same scholars in those same books, like Tafsir ibn Kathir. But he didn't, when he came to the face, and when he mentioned that the scholars, they say everything will perish except Allah, except his face, right? And then kullu shay'in halikun illa wajhu, everything will perish except his face, right? And then he said that the scholars, they say al-murad wal-ma'na illa dhatuhu. And then he came to the statement of Ibn Kathir in Surah Al-Rahman, where Allah Ta'ala mentions وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. And he said Ibn Kathir said, what will remain is his that. The meaning is يَبْقَى ذَاتُهُ. And he left out where Ibn Kathir said that Dhul Jalali wal Ikram is a description of Allah Ta'ala's face. He left that part out, right? He left it out, just totally deleted it, just like it didn't exist. Games. They're playing games. Tayyib. The characteristic of the face, where in the Arabic language, bring for us in the Arabic language from the statements of the companions, the statement of the Messenger of Allah, the statement of his companions, the Quran, the Quran, bring from us an example in the Quran where the wajh means that, and don't bring to us no statements that aren't no verses that aren't verses of sifat, because just because the word wajh is mentioned in a verse doesn't mean this verse is talking about Allah Ta'ala's attributes. We need to be clear. Not every verse in the Quran that mentions a word that is a characteristic of Allah Ta'ala or attribute of Allah Ta'ala in another place means that verse is mentioned in that word as an attribute. That's a little complex. We can say, in this case, you need to know the Arabic language, right? We can say something. Yani, in the Arabic language helps you. Even so, where in the Quran, the Sunnah, the statements of the companions, the Arabic, the Arabic of the people of Jahiliyyah, the Arabic of the people right after Islam, right after the advent of Islam, not too long after the death of the Messenger of Allah, where did they mention the word wajh means that? Where did they mention that? It's a difference between the concept of mentioning a characteristic and mentioning the principle in the Arabic language is itlaq as-sifa wal marad bihi al-mawsuf, right? ذكر الصفة والمراد به الموصوف أو تعبير بالصفة عن الموصوف, using an expression that contains the characteristic when and intending the characterized. Once again, using a characteristic when the intention when what's in the characterized. This concept does not negate that Allah Ta'ala is described with a face, right? If Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran, everything is going to perish except himself, except his face. Everything is going to perish except his face. Of course, the characteristic, the attribute of Allah Ta'ala is not going to perish, just like Allah Ta'ala himself is not going to perish. Once again, the attribute will not perish. But of course, Allah Ta'ala himself won't perish either. So in these verses, Allah Ta'ala has mentioned his characteristic, and no doubt Allah Ta'ala means that he himself won't perish. But that doesn't negate the attribute of a face. And we have this in the English language. We have this in the English language, right? When somebody says, yani say if a person has a large head, and I'm one of the people who have a large head, right? And somebody says, yo, tell Big Head to come here. Tell Big Head to come here, right? They saying big head, but they intend the person that's described with having a big head. They use this characteristic of big head, large head, this attribute of a person having a large head, and they call that person by it. That's not a negation that the person has a large head. Even in English, we have this. These people are playing games. They're playing games. And I'm not comparing Allah Ta'ala to his creation, but this concept of using a sifa, an attribute, and what's intended is the one that the sifa is being attributed to. That doesn't mean a negation of the attribute. That's not what he said, though. This individual, he said, no, if you say Allah has a face, you're comparing his Allah Ta'ala to his creation. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allah Ta'ala mentions about himself that he has a face, and you come along without any evidence. Let's not play games. Evidence about the Arabic language comes from the Quran and the Sunnah, and it comes from the Arabic language itself, which is prior to Islam, prior to the bi'tha of the Messenger of Allah, prior to the Messenger of Allah coming as a prophet, being appointed as a prophet, and a little bit after his death. Those early generations. Where's the poetry? Where's the literature, the Arabic poetry? Where is it? Where they're saying wajh means face. Let's not play games. We're not here to play games. We're not here for you to just throw out stuff and think people are stupid, right? طيب, in any event, barakallahu fikum, the Sheikh, so that was an example of what the Asha'ira do. The Asha'ira and the Maturidiyah. The Asha'ira and the Maturidiyah, who came 300 plus years after the death of the Messenger of Allah Aslan, right? The Asha'ira came 330 years. This individual was born. I can't recall his name right now, but he was born, or he died 330 years after the Messenger of Allah's death. Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari came after that. After al-Maturidi, Abu Hassan came more than 330 years after the Prophet. Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari, more than 330 years after the Prophet, Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari came. Right? So anyway, that's an example of the Asha'ira. The Sheikh, he says, Hal kullu tahrifin yu'addu kufran, is every type of tahrif, every type of changing of a name or attribute considered kufr? Al-Jawab, the Sheikh, he says, Laysa kullu tahrifin yu'addu kufran. Not every type of tahrif is considered kufr. Not every tahrif is considered kufr. He says, فَإِنَّ أَهْلَ السُنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ لم يكفروا الذين فسروا استواء بالاستولى. Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah did not declare takfir. They did not say that the people who said al-istawla means al-istawa, those individuals. Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah did not say that the people who said al-istawa means istawla, they didn't say that those individuals were disbelievers. They didn't say that. He says, فَإِنْ كَانَ التَّحْرِيفِ فِي جَمِيعِ الصِّفَاتِ, he says, if the tahrif is in all of the attributes, كَفِعْلِ الْجَهْمِيَّةِ, like the Jahmiyyah do, فَإِنَّهُ يُعَدُّ كُفْرًا, this is considered disbelief. وَالْجَهْمِيَّةُ عِنْدَهُمْ كُفَّارٌ, and Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah considers the Jahmiyyah to be disbelievers. He says, لِأَنَّهُمْ حَرَّفُوا وَنَفُوا صِفَاتُ اللَّهِ, because they changed and denied Allah Ta'ala's attributes. They denied all of them and changed all of them. The Sheikh, he says, وَإِنْ كَانَ التَّحْرِيفُ فِي بَعْضِ الصِّفَاتِ, if the changing is in some of the characteristics, the attributes, not all of them, وَكَانَتِ الدَّلَالَةُ عَلَيْهَا ظَاهِرَةً ولا يحتمل وجه يعني ليس للتأويل فيها مدخل هنا يكفر به. He says وإن كان التحريف في بعض الصفات, if the tahrif is in some characteristics, and the understanding of these attributes from the verses is clear, and there's no way that a sort of ta'wil can be explained, and there's no way that ta'wil could be a valid issue here. It's no way that a person changing this verse is even acceptable, right? The Sheikh, he said, in this case is considered disbelief. He said, in this case is considered disbelief. A person comes to a characteristic that's 100% clear. 100% clear, and he says no, right? It's no, yani, a person comes to a verse that's 100% clear. This verse is 100% clear. This is 100% clear that this is a characteristic of Allah, the attribute of Allah. And the person, he starts coming with this bogus ta'wil. The Sheikh, he said in this case is disbelief. كتكفير من نفي الرؤية, like the declaring the one that denies seeing Allah Ta'ala in the hereafter, the one that denies seeing Allah Ta'ala in the hereafter. He said that's kufr, right? Or like the one, or like declaring declaring the one that says Allah Ta'ala's speech is created, a disbeliever, right? It's no way you can get that from that. It's no way you can get that. There's no way you can arrive up at that. It's 100% bogus. The Sheikh, he said this is also kufr, right? Saying that Allah Ta'ala's speech is created is kufr, right? Saying that that the people are not gonna see Allah, the believers, may Allah Ta'ala make us with them. Saying that they won't see Allah on the day in the hereafter. The Sheikh, he said that's kufr. He said other things, right? Other things which, if the person says it, he could have a possible excuse in explaining it away and doing ta'wil. The Sheikh, he says a situation like this, the person would not be declared a kafir. The person would not be considered a disbeliever. He says, وَلِهَذَا أَهْلُ السُنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ لَمْ يُكَفِّرُوا الْأَشَاعِرَ وَالْمَاتُرِدِيَّةِ. He says, because of this, the people Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, they did not declare the Asha'ira and the Maturidiyya to be kuffar. Wal Kullabiyya, they didn't declare the Kullabiyya or the Masalimiyya or the Karamiyya and others like them. They did not declare them to be disbelievers. They did not declare them to be disbelievers. طيب. A 10b. You find this discussion in the book Al-Qawa'id Al-Muthla by Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, and the explanation of the noble scholar Abu Ahmed Muhammad ibn Ali, or Muhammad Aman ibn Ali al-Ethiopi al-Jami, rahimahullah ta'ala. He said these issues of takfir are issues of these are issues that the only people who should be speaking in specific issues of or issues of takfir as it relates to specific people are the scholars, right? He said the students and so on and so forth, they can mention the principles all day, the general principles. But when it comes to applying these principles to specific people, and the Sheikh was talking about takfir and tafsiq, yani tabdi'. The Sheikh was talking about declaring people to be disbelievers and declaring people to be mubtadi'ah. He said this is the job of the scholars. This is the job of the scholars, the major scholars, right? The Sheikh, he said, mention the principles all day, but application is a different issue. He said, and you have to be careful because people come from various backgrounds. And he said the concept of something being well known in a religion is relative. It's relative. Something being well known in a religion, this concept is relative. And he mentioned, or he alluded to, the fact that the person that's considered the new Muslim, such that the concept of this is well known in a religion wouldn't apply to them, is not only the person that just became Muslim. The Sheikh, he mentioned the example of the people in the Badia. They're not around knowledge. They're not around the people of knowledge. They're not around the sittings of knowledge. They're not around the circles of knowledge and the scholars and the students of knowledge and in the universities. No, that's not their condition. They're far away from the scholars, far away from the gatherings of knowledge, far away from the societies where the people are upon knowledge and upon sunnah, upon the aqeedah of the salaf, upon salafiyah, upon fiqh, upon sunnah. As a society, knowledge is, they're from a place where the asl in that place is ignorance and bid'ah and kufr and disobedience and so on and so forth. He said you don't come and see a person like this and they make an error and you declare the person a kafir, or you declare the person out of it. He said, no, he said, you give this person da'wah. This person is given da'wah. Yani a person comes for a noble reason. He's like, yo, I want to learn. I'm trying to be educated, right? We're not talking about a person who openly calls to innovation. He's an innovator. It's clear. This person openly calls to innovation. He's calling to the way of the Asha'ira. He's calling to the way of Maturidiyah. He's saying Ash'ariyya Maturidiyya is Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. He's saying that Sufi is agreed upon. This person is a mubtadi', right? That's clear. But some miskin person comes and he's like, yo, man, I thought this was the truth. You know what I'm saying? I thought this was reality. I thought this was ilm. You take your time. You don't just throw the individual, kick him down the steps and throw him out the window and jump him. Nah, you shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff anyway. But the person like this, you take your time and try to educate him. Maybe Allah Ta'ala might guide him because of you. So we take our time, take it easy. Take it easy, right? Take it easy. Subhanallah al-Azim. May Allah help us. May Allah Ta'ala rectify our affairs. May Allah Azza wa Jalla purify our hearts. Help us, aid us, guide us, give us firmness. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.